beach, hot tub yesterday, massage at the club this morning, breakfast.
Yeah, it's just awful here.
Yeah. It's a wonder. Some don't even go back. Look at Scott Dixon.
Yeah, no, the hospitality here is second to none. It's insane. You guys put on such a good show. We love coming back here. Second time here, so yeah, I want to make it a third next year, hopefully.
Well, we appreciate having you. 15 seconds to go to entry. Our first competitors rather. It's Peter Wickwire running from the left-hand side on port against Dave Hood from Long Beach Yacht Club. Everybody knows. Here's the gun. Hood on starboard. Change of course to the red top mark.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of mark changes today, especially with that building sea breeze. We'll see it start to kind of stabilize through the day. Right now it's just building, so it's going to be lots of shifts happening left and right. At the moment we're seeing a bit of a left shift here. Bit of a late response by Wickwire there, and we see a Yankee on Hood, so we'll see what the umpires have to say about it.
Green flag, no blood, no foul. As the question has been answered here in the dial-up.
Yeah, so it looks like Wickwire's popped onto port here. Might be in a little bit of trouble. We have Hood kind of coming down on him on starboard. So the problem with the dial-up is suddenly you're heading to wind, and if you accidentally fall out one way, especially if you fall onto port, you can be in really big trouble. Like we're seeing here, this is going to get really close.
Look at that. So Hood just slid a bit too far forward there, trying to get a piece of Wickwire. No penalty. And both boats will fall onto port now. Can Hood accelerate far enough and fast enough away to go back at him and have a piece on starboard, or will Wickwire be able to close the gauge and trail to the right-hand side of the start? How much? 2 minutes, 40 seconds coming up.
Yeah, it was really nice act there by Wickwire. Just a swing just behind the other boat. That was really important. If they didn't have that swing, they'll be in a whole lot of hurt coming into this restart.
And did Hood just have just a tiny bit too much pace?
Yeah, no, exactly. Just
forward.
Covered a little bit too much pace. I mean, it's really important that the starboard boat is you don't end up too far in front of the other boat. You kind of want to be on their stern hip, really. So that's the back of the boat, their nose, just enough so they can't tack in front, but also for the ability to do what you need to do at the back there.
Cool. All right, coming up on 2 minutes, we're going to send Marilyn to the right-hand side of the pier as we get locked out visually.
And you guys might notice that we no longer have ride-alongs on board. They were just so now they don't have to keep their mouths quiet like we instructed them on that first flight.
Hood's just down at the end of the pier, having jived over, and it looks like Wickwire will tack. Hood is continuing to head downwind and towards the pier, though, getting a little bit further into the playground than we really have seen yet this weekend.
Strong to use the pier to your advantage as the teams prepare to head back to the line.
Yeah, so looking at the course-wise, if we've had a left shift, so that's what the release race committee think of when they're moving to that red mark, that should mean that the pin end of the line is biased. So what we should expect these boats to do is kind of race down to that pin and be the first one over there would be the power move, if they can get there. But it is match racing, so it's not really about the course, it's more about how you do versus your opponent.
And in order to get the pin end start, stronger to lead in?
Yeah, I mean, especially in these lighter conditions, I would definitely be wanting to lead in and this kind of stuff.
And that's what Wickwire has done. As we can see them now coming around Price Point to the right end of the pier. Wickwire just hitting the brakes again, much as he did in the first pre-start. Hood, comfortable to just wait to windward.
Yeah, we start to see Hood start to go for a dive here and try and push Wickwire all the way to the other side. They've got about 40 seconds left to the clock. So not a whole heap of time to kill, so we may see Hood try and maybe extend away from Wickwire in the final couple seconds, just to allow themselves a nice lane to go all the way out left if they want to.
Were you able to get that on the TV down there?
23 seconds to go.
7 recorded, but I'm not
Wickwire leading Hood into the line. Hood closing gauge.
Yeah, Hood's coming in really quick here, but I think he's just going for dummy moves here because, I mean, he definitely does not want to be on the hip of Wickwire off the start.
Can he get a piece of him there? Likely no. Look for Hood to tack away there. How much time have we got? 4 seconds. How's Wickwire going to do at the start on the pin? Here we go. Hood tried to push him down there too early, but it didn't happen. And he'll tack away, taking the right. Wickwire heads to the left, as you called. Pin end being a little bit favored What do you make of the breeze up the track?
Yeah, although the pin end or the line was biased, I reckon that kind of middle right is looking really good. There seems to be a bit of a hole in the wind out left where Wickwire's going, but I mean, it's still early days in the sea breeze, so anything can really happen right now.
All things being equal, Hood will have starboard advantage when the teams converge, and here comes Wickwire to stay with Hood on port.
Yeah, it looks like Wickwire's kind of agree with Hood, saying that right-hand side is probably the way to go for this race.
Steve Flam on board with Wickwire. I wonder how many times Steve and Dave have raced each other. They've probably got some similar mindsets on how to read the wind out here in Long Beach.
Our next competitors in the pre-start in just a few seconds' time. Nicole Brol from the left, Bjorn Hansen on starboard from the right. Here we go. Also the red top mark. Now this will be interesting, this cross between Hood and Wickwire.
Yeah, Wickwire's looking really high on port, so we'll see who comes across, but I have a feeling that the Americans' Hoods might have a piece here.
Do you think?
It's close.
Looks to me like Wickwire is clear across there. Yes. Strong from the left, and you know the teams in the dial up here will keep an eye on that. As Wickwire shifts into a defensive position to the right of Dave Hood, who's now on the back foot. Meanwhile, no dial up at all. Brol, nice job from the left to get across her opponent. Did I speak too soon there? No. There we go.
Yeah, it looks like Hansen tried to get a piece on Brol there, but it looks like she had heaps of speed coming in and was just able to coast around the bow. Really nice move. I mean, it really shows that speed is your friend in these kind of boats.
Hansen, arguably with much more experience, but he said he hasn't match raced in 17 months, told us in the press conference yesterday. Meanwhile, Nicole Brol has quite a bit, and four-time women's match racing national champion. She qualified through the Thicker Cup for her first Congressional Cup.
Here's a question I've got for you, Zach. So I know you teach sailing back at home, but he hasn't match raced in 17 months. What kind of sailing, do you think he's on the boat regularly? What kind of sailing do you guys do when you're not racing?
I mean, for me, when I'm not match racing, I'm definitely fleet racing and or coaching. I mean, even if you're not actually sailing yourself, you can still kind of keep your mind switched onto it, even just watching what's going on, especially watching replays of past Congressional Cups. It's really powerful just to kind of get your head in the game and kind of visualize what's going on without having to be sailing yourself.
Marilyn Cassidy off to the right. What do you see?
Jived at the end of the... Hansen continuing on and tacking. It looks like he'll push back.
Thank you, Marilyn. Now we can see them coming back into view. It's just how you said it, Marilyn. Brol to the left. And Hansen now tacking back. How much time? Minute 40 seconds. Plenty of time left.
Looks like we had another split up the top there, and I think Wickwire is well ahead of Hood coming to the top. So they came together again, and Wickwire went back out left. So looks like this left, kind of middle left, is working quite nicely. So it looks like we've got quite a bit of time to kill, about what? Just under 1 minute 20. So these guys are going to be pushing pretty hard. So Hansen kind of pushing Brol very hard, trying to push him down all the way to the other side of the line.
Hansen known as a very aggressive match racer. 1 minute to go, lots of time to kill, and Nicole knows it.
Check it out up top, guys. Hood got a piece of Wickwire there. They both had to go head to win, and I think Hood just made a pass right there at the top mark on Wickwire.
Good call, Ryan. Definitely not asleep today, is he? Well done. I didn't see that either. It is a solid lead change. Well done, Dave Hood, into the Spinnaker set ahead. Let's ask them that in the press conference, what happened there.
So we got just under 30 seconds to go here. I think Hansen's in a really, really nice spot. I mean, they're very early back to the line here, so, I mean, Nicole's trying to slow down the game, and he's definitely going to try and stop that from happening.
Hansen likely to split onto port. There is some breeze to the lower right here where he's headed, and Brol sees it as well, so she's not going to split. She'll stay above Hansen as we head towards the start. 5 seconds to go. It'll be Hansen accelerating first towards the line. Both boats on port. Here's the gun.
This is definitely a compromised position for Nicole here. I mean, she might be able to live here for maybe about a minute maximum, but after that, she's going to really struggle to hold in that lane for any much longer.
Looks like she's going to get a little bit of left-hand pressure first.
Yeah, you see her bailing out there. You kind of want to get out of these situations before you start to really lose, so you can stay in the match. What else you can do is to stay in a bad spot.
Live to fight another day.
Exactly.
And Hansen continues to the right. He gets his bow into a bit of pressure first, and he's got starboard advantage as he tacks to stay with Brol. So early advantage at this point to Hansen. Sparks flying downwind in the hood match. That's so far from over. Look at it.
Yeah, this is incredibly close. Looks like a bit of kind of neither boats have got their pole on, so they're both going to scramble. Bowman's is going absolutely at it just to make sure to get your pole. If you have your pole on, then it means you can sail much, much hotter than the other boat.
Wickwire in the red spinnaker looking to roll. It's a long way around, though, isn't it, if you're the windward boat?
Oh, for sure. And there's really not that much of room going downwind as well. These boats really truck downwind when they get going. So this race course is actually incredibly short, so it's really hard to kind of stick any moves on the downwind.
Keep an eye on that match heading downwind to the leeward gates. Meanwhile, match 3. Ian Geretta on the left, Cole Tapper, who's done really well so far on 5 wins. He's on starboard to the right. Lots of gauge in the dial up there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which gate these guys choose towards the bottom here. I mean, traditionally, you always want to default the left-hand turn and end up going right because you have the starboard advantage coming back. But it looks like both boats are setting up for that starboard rounding. So it looks like that left-hand side is kind of looking very favourable for the guys coming down right now.
And the race committee is kind of showing that as well with these right-hand red mark changes that they've been showing for the starts of flights as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. A long dial-up seems for Cole right here.
Long time to go yet, too. Just under 3 minutes. How long can this go on?
Interesting that Wickwire seemed like he kind of faked out hood there, following as long as he could with the spinnaker out before breaking the other direction.
Well, I think he faked his crew out, too. They weren't ready for that jibe drop, and now the spinnaker's all over the cockpit as they head back upwind. He got the split, but he had to pay for it.
Yeah, for sure. Our bowman on board, Wickwire's team, is definitely going to have a big job trying to get that kite down.
That was your bowman. You gave it to him.
Yeah, I gave it to him. On loan.
On loan.
We'll have him back.
So had you beaten Wickwire in the Picker Cup, it would be you with that bowman out there with your spinnaker draped all over the cockpit.
I wouldn't say draped. I think it'd be right on the hatch. I mean, I know James. We have a good relationship. I know when to get back to spinnaker down in time.
Wouldn't happen to your level.
Absolutely no way.
But yeah, you're up here with us. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. And we appreciate it very much.
Back up at the top of the race course, Nicole Brol is matching Bjorn Hansen up there, although Hansen does seem to have a bit of a lead. Those two are not going to split apart in this race. They both desperately need a win here.
Did you see what happened there? There's a blue flag penalty here in the pre-start against Geretta.
Yeah, interesting here. I missed what happened, but now this completely changes the game in the pre-start. So Tapper can start to wind down the risk a little bit because he's already got a penalty. So he'll obviously try and push him around a little bit, but won't be risking a penalty on himself. Got about 1 minute 40. Geretta's in really big trouble. Penalty down and stuck out to Coffin's corner. So you'll see Tapper just to try and prevent him getting back into that playground, which is the period just to the right of the start boat. So the further left they go, the better it is for Tapper.
How aggressive are you going to be on the start here trying to clear that penalty or offset the penalty? I mean, is it risk of causing a second penalty too early, or is this the time to really put the hammer on Zach and try to force a mistake out of your competitor here?
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, if you have the opportunity, for sure you want to try and offset it, but I mean, if you get 2 penalties, that's just game over. So, I mean, now Geretta is in a really good spot, so he's going to be really aggressive now, so he's going to try and love Cole, see what he can do, try and offset that penalty, but, I mean, it looks like Cole's getting out the way. We can see what's happening. Cole stopped turning. This could be really interesting. Green flag from the umpires. They've hoisted another Yankee flag. We'll see what the other decision is, but yeah, green again.
And they're just approaching the pin starboard ley line here, so it'll be interesting to see how long Tapper does hold Geretta out heading towards the boat.
Yeah, even though Geretta has rights here, Tapper's actually in a really strong spot. He's going to stop Geretta from tacking. So if Cole can keep him from getting close to that star line, he's in a really good spot. We'll see them luff next to this committee boat here. We'll see what happens.
Just 10 seconds, so Tapper's looking pretty happy, I think.
Yeah, I would be very happy if I was Tapper right now. We're going to start with Geretta right in his gas, and with a penalty down, this is pretty much game over. I mean, don't want to put a curse on it, but Tapper's done well here.
Yeah, I thought you guys were mates.
Up top, you see the Club 100 Spinnaker Bjorn Hansen leading Nicole Brol here on the top mark, and you see Peter Wickwire and Dave Hood going at it, trying to stretch to make that red mark. Looks like Wickwire is slightly ahead if they can make it on this ley line.
Yeah, I would agree. Looks like Wickwire's played it really nicely on that second upwind. It's going to be all to play for on this final downwind towards the finish.
And explain the need to give rights here when you're with inside the mark, because it looks like Hood might have edged him out there.
Yeah, I guess Wickwire was a little bit underlaid, so he had to kind of put the boat a little bit more upwind than he needed to, or really wanted to, which meant that he lost a lot of speed. So what happens is we're both coming to the mark, the person on the kind of downwind side, so closest side to us, has the right of way going in here. But they can't take excessive amounts of room.
So that'll be a fun race to watch as the red and blue Spinnakers make their way down. As is the race in the middle of the course here between Nicole Brol and Bjorn Hansen. As I said, both of those racers desperate to log another win here as we get close to the end of the first round robin. In the dial-up now, we've got our two most recognizable teams here. We've got Eric Monin in that all-white gear, and who's in the orange gear again? Where's your teammate here? Come on now.
Well, I'll fill in for Tiana here. We're looking at Yanni Bernston in the orange.
Looks like we're going to have another close match coming towards this gate. You'll see the jibs start to go up, Spinnakers start to drop as well. We'll see which way they pick the bottom mark. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another split down the bottom here. I mean, if you can split it, then you can roll the dice, especially as a back boat, and hopefully, like we saw at the other match, get back into it.
How important is it to try to cover each other? I mean, is it worth it to take the chance of the split? In the strategy game, Zach, obviously it's a case-by-case situation, but what's the ideal move? Is it better to cover, or is it better to split and hope for win?
So it depends on what the course bias is. So if you maybe want to go the right-hand side and your opponent's going back left, then maybe you might not cover hard on the other people, so maybe let them go a little bit, but you're still protecting your side, so when they tack back, you can slam a really hard tack back, force them back to the unfavored end. But if it's all even, then you just want to be on their hip really, really hard all the time, every single tack you can, without making sure that you're down speed through one of these maneuvers.
All right, so with Bernston and Monin here in their start sequence, walk me through what's happening between Dave Hood, who is slightly ahead here of Peter Wickwire. Wickwire is going to hope to cover the win, is my only thought, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Dave Hood's going to try and go hot and try and breathe or have air in front of Wickwire, which I think he's got now. He executed a really nice jibe. It looks like Wickwire had a bit of a slow maneuver, but it's definitely not over yet. So Wickwire's going to be going really hot, try and spread this game out, spend as much time just to try and get onto his wind, stop his spinnaker from being full, and try and roll around the outside. But I mean, it looks like Hood's doing a really good job here.
And on this tack, the downwind boat would be Hood. He's got the rights, is that correct?
Yeah, so as the inside boat here, so he's to leeward, that means that he has right of way over Wickwire. So Wickwire's only chance here is just try and overtake. See a Simo jibe here, Wickwire's going to come very hot to try and get over the top, but I think Hood's kind of sealed the deal here.
The question that I have next for you guys is how this finishing match might affect Monin and Bernston as they're in the final minute or so until their start.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to help them out. I think they've got enough time that these downwind boats are going to get out of the way, but these boats will be coming in on starboard, so they actually have right away of these other boats. If there is a incident, normal racing rules will apply. So.
And as we finish there, Dave Hood, folks, takes another win. I said his 6th win of the week. 6 wins so far for Dave Hood with only 1 match left in the first round robin. Dave is looking really good representing Long Beach Yacht Club.
Yeah, so it looks like these boats are Bernston and Monin coming into the start line right now. Not a whole lot of time left to the clock, so these guys will be pretty much racing towards this pin. Maybe a couple seconds to spare, but...
Looks like Bernston thinks he does have a minute or a couple of seconds to kill here with that luff. Or possibly to shake off Monin and close the gap between them a little.
Yeah, he wants to get as close as possible to Monin as we can. So we see Monin try and tack out, get a split tack start to really open up the chance of getting through. But, I mean, as we've seen in the last couple of races, that left seems to be working quite nicely.
split start here between Bernston and Monin. And we've got, I think, one more race to start. They're the last one of the set. We got Chris Poole and Rocco Aili coming up next.
Looking up the course, looks like there's quite a bit of spread between the two matches up there. So it looks like it's pretty much, well.
And I believe Tapper had been leading, had been leading Geretta in that match. Is that your recollection? Yeah. So Tapper in the Grand Spinnaker is leading Geretta in the F&M Bank.
Yeah, so being behind with a penalty outstanding is not a great spot to be in. So Tapper's going to be playing it really nice and simple. I wouldn't be surprised if he hoists this jib really nice and early drop. Just keep things simple.
Keep it simple for the crew, too, right? Like, let's not do any unforced errors carrying the spinnaker for a spare boat length or something, right?
Yeah, these boats are really big, the loads are massive, and you don't want to wear your crew out. There's only so much they've got for the whole day, so you don't want to wreck them too early.
Let alone the whole week, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Coming into the start now, we've got Chris Poole, the only undefeated skipper thus far, versus Rocco Aili with 2 wins here after a first day of racing.
You see Rocco there throw a lot of helm, looks like he came in with a lot of speed, so unlike the matches that we saw before where the boat on the left-hand side was able to duck in behind, we saw Rocco just wipe as much speed as possible just to sit on his hip there. So he's in a really nice spot with a lot of gauge, a lot of space between them, so he's in a nice spot here.
Seems like he must have been sort of paying attention here, right? And I think that we've seen the breeze come up just a couple of knots maybe in the last half hour or so, and that might be part of what skippers are having to calibrate to the conditions, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I think this sea breeze is starting to establish itself really nicely, so I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to stabilize, and maybe we see that kind of right shift like we saw yesterday.
Yeah, it's not seeing it yet, I guess, but stay tuned.
Yeah, hopefully soon. So Rocco falling out here. So it looks like Poole is a bit stalled. So Rocco will look to extend and maybe start to come back, or just keep it nice and simple and do his own little pre-start routine and try and just let Poole dance around him.
But look at the acceleration on Aili right here. Really doing a good job of trying to build that space and see if he can come back and attack.
Yeah, this is where the crew work really makes a difference. So we saw just before a couple of crews throwing their body weight around. So pumping that boat from leeward to windward, so rocking around actually really propels the boat. But they've got to be careful. If they do too much of it, they can actually get a penalty.
Ooh. Just over 2 minutes to go until the start on that one. Look upwind here. We've got the Club 100 Spinnaker. Bjorn Hansen is leading Nicole Brol with that Cabrillo Boat Shop Spinnaker. Are they coming into the finish here? Zach, have you been keeping track?
So Hansen had been leading around the race, or at the last leeward mark, I believe. But it looks like Nicole Brol in the Cabrillo Boat Shop Spinnaker has really got Hansen into an interesting position. Can he complete this jibe without fouling?
And I'm sorry I was gone, guys, but I come back at the moment where Nicole Brol might be looking towards a massively impressive victory if she can make this stick.
Yeah, this is incredibly close. So they did stick the jibe. It was very... Oh, there's a penalty here. So it looks like the jibe was not complete. And they forced Nicole to go into the jibe. The Yankee came up. So this is a penalty on them. So Hansen's going to do everything he can do to try and kind of get one back on her.
I'll tell you what. And that's a big victory for Nicole Brol. Now, Hansen's not done yet. He's got to get rid of that penalty. He's going to try and reel her in into an offsetting penalty as a leeward boat. And she will have to jibe to get to the finish line.
Yeah, match is not done until you cross that finish line. So the important thing in here is this pin end mark, the yellow and black one. So it is a rounding mark, so they do have room around it. But, I mean, they're going to be pushing all the way, and Hansen does not want to get into that zone. If he does, he has to go around. This is incredibly close.
Oop, a little fake right there. It would look like what was going to be a jibe. Nicole Brol went for it, took the bait, and she's jibed completely onto port.
Yeah, she's on port. This is not her right away here. I can see at least one yellow flag right now, so the others must have been green.
That could even be a red.
Yeah,
I wonder if that is a professional penalty, right? Thinking about the opportunity to take back control.
No. The penalty went against Hansen. Against Brol, so they're offset. I apologize.
Offset, so
there's no red. So
Brol's just going to go straight for this.
We're even.
Hansen's actually dropped the spinnaker on Brol, so
who's now in the leeward position, right?
No, I think Nicole has got it. There was the same move that Nicole lost the match yesterday, but hold on. Oh, no.
Penalty, Brol.
just when things look fantastically good for the San Francisco team, that blue flag penalty, even though she crossed the line first, means the race goes to Hansen. Wow, that will make the press conference, I assure you.
I'll be interested when we get an umpire call in on that, especially on that last blue penalty, if it might have just been her coming up too fast, sort of not giving fair warning for a luff on the downwind leg, or if there was something else at play that we might have missed.
Yeah, something really impressive throughout all of that. Chris Poole got a great start. Aili was over the line early. So Chris Poole has sailed onward towards Catalina through this mess of spinnakers and penalties and marks and everything down there. So great job by Chris Poole, guys.
And Zach, I just want to point out your counterpart who's still asleep, Tiana, yesterday said, wow, I can't imagine it gets any better than this. And I told her it definitely does. That was just day number one. You're starting to see it now. As the qualifying rounds tick down, as the breeze starts to pick up in the afternoon, these boats get closer and closer. The teams that have traveled here start to get better and better. At the Catalina 37s, we start to see more penalties. We start to see more aggression. It gives us something to talk about. It certainly gets more exciting.
Yeah, as these teams start to get dialed in, they'll get more and more confident with their boat handling, and the race is going to get closer and closer. So this is where we start to see some major match racing moves coming on. And I believe the penalty there on the pin end was based on their spinnaker dropping. So as you get luffed, you actually have to give them the opportunity to drop their kite. So a trick that you can do is suddenly just blow your halyard. If it falls on the other boat, that's just like a boat touch. So that was a collision there. The umpires thought that they didn't give them enough room to drop their spinnaker, so then that was a penalty on the call.
And I see our media umpire, Kirk Brown, nodding vigorously, so it sounds like you've got that one exactly right.
Thank you very much, umpire.
Zach, back at your home yacht club, you guys have a Kirk Brown. You have someone. He is such a source for us. As part of the intermediate program here, Learning to Sail, we have Kirk speak to us a couple times a year just to teach us, like at a lead up to the Congressional Cup, about what to watch for. So for Kirk to be agreeing with you, I think you're saying things right. But you guys have someone like that back at home?
Yeah, we have a whole team of umpires in Sydney that are really, really important for us. So what we like to do, we have an umpire debrief once we get off the water, and we kind of talk through any situations we thought were interesting, or even if we agree, we want to see what were you thinking in that situation and what rules are at play. We have a massive team. I mean, Damien is definitely one of those guys that helps us a lot. And we actually have one of the umpires here who's, I think he's a Kiwi, but he lives up in Sydney at the moment.
Ooh.
While you guys were talking about that, sorry, very close rounding there with Yanni Bernston off to the right there, of course, in the orange gear, and Eric Monin. That match is definitely one to watch in a huge split, one of the biggest that we've seen, with Bernston off to the right, Monin off to the far left there. And coming into the finish, Cole Tapper, undefeated today. He's been on a roll in this Congressional Cup. I think that might break the tie. No? Are we still tied for second? On 6-2 between Hood and Tapper. So this match for Monin and Bernston is going to be important for the Swiss.
Yeah, as we kind of talked about at the start there, once you get a penalty on the boat, it's all about keeping the game nice and simple. Don't want to engage with the other boat, just keep it nice and clean and nice and calm.
Obviously, the scores from both round robins count to your overall, but how do you, Zach, when you go into the second round robin, do you think of it as a bit of a reset, or is it just a running continuation when it comes to the racer's standpoint?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I kind of think of it more of a running continuum. So what's really important is you kind of figure out what the other teams are like and any strengths or weaknesses. So you may say, hey, they're maybe quite bad in tacking in our last match. Maybe we throw a couple more tacks in than before. Or maybe they're really, really quick, so maybe that pre-start's more important. So it kind of depends on where you place a risk, really.
Yeah, Matt, that helps me bring the next question. I'm going to ask this, and I know that it's a bad one to ask, but when you're looking at your next set of matches, is there a couple that you, in your head, think, these are going to be the hard ones, these are the must-wins, I've got to focus on beating these different racers? Maybe people you beat in the first round robin, or teams you feel like you can exploit a weakness? Like, how do you look ahead to all 9 matches?
Yeah, it kind of depends. So, it totally depends on who we're versing. So, if I'm coming in and we've already figured out something about the other team, so maybe their boat handling might not be up to scratch, or they're particularly quick, then that's when we might be thinking about certain moves, like maybe there's a bit more risk in the pre-start, or maybe we dial it down a little bit. Otherwise, if it's just any other team that we haven't really got any inside knowledge on, it's just a boat number to us. So we're just versing boat 3, boat 7, whoever it is. So as soon as you get down to really this is who we're versing, that's when you get too stuck in the person and not the boat. So it looks like the match coming up to the top here looks to be quite close. I think that split's come out quite even.
Yeah, maybe just a boat length or so in it for Monin, who had gone out to the left, with Bernston trailing, having come out of the right.
That's Chris Poole in the yellow spinnaker, leading downwind over Rocco Aili. Another victory poised for the American team. Chris looking for his third three-peat win in the Congressional Cup. Only one skipper has done that 3 in a row. That's Dave Hood's coach, Taylor Canfield.
Is Chris Poole the only skipper to have gone undefeated? Did we determine that?
We're not sure. Going all the way forward. We got 60 years to go through, but in modern history of the Congressional Cup, I've never seen a skipper go through completely undefeated.
I think since I was born, there's been no one undefeated.
I'm getting word that there has been other skippers that have been undefeated, so it's not just Chris Poole. But very impressive. If he can get through this first round robin undefeated, that'll be a big power play for him coming through his hopefully third consecutive Congressional Cup win.
Well, even he knows the slate is wiped clean if you make it to the semifinals. All those wins just get you to reset the clock and start over again. It's how you stand on Sunday that matters if you want to wear a crimson blazer.
Yeah, the interesting thing about match racing is that even though you may have won one match, you just got to keep winning. You can't take your foot off the pedal, because otherwise the other teams are going to come in and kind of find out, especially if you verse them lots in the semifinals and finals. You verse them maybe 2-3 times already, so they know exactly where your strengths are, exactly where your weaknesses are, and if you let your foot off the pedal, they can really come in and bite you.
We even saw that a bit last year. There were some pretty big upsets when they did a repechage into a quarterfinal. Just, I think partly because some of the folks who had qualified in the top 4, not part of the repechage, just took their foot off the pedal. They had a nice day here on the pier with all of us, I think really enjoying themselves, but not having that opportunity to race those additional races might have hurt some of them in some cases. Yeah, for sure. We only have a finite amount of time on these boats, so we usually have one practice day going into the event, and then it's just all racing that from there. So what's really important is that any time you can get on the boats, we definitely try and take it, because we don't have these boats back at home. I mean, these boats are only here, right?